Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, kids, I've got a real treat for you. Now, I always bring people in here talking about how to make money, how to, get past challenges and objections. But today, I got a real treat because guess what? Not many people have his expertise. Matter of fact, I don't know if anybody is specialized in what this gentleman specializes in. Welcome, Tom Hegna, to the show.
Hey, Brad. Great to be here.
Tom Hegna, folks, he basically is an economist, an author. He's a retirement expert. If you're even thinking about retirement, or you're going to retire someday, so that means if you're 20 getting started, or you're 57 getting ready to shut her down, you need to talk or listen to Tom Hegna. Is that right?
Well, I could sure help people retire the optimal way. I can help them get the most for the least.
Yeah, so that's what I want to know, because everybody clamors to your events and everybody says you're like the second coming. What is it you're teaching them?
Well, I always say, if you talk to 50 different people and ask them how you're supposed to retire, what your retirement portfolio is supposed to look like, you're going to get 50 different opinions. But there aren't 50 optimal ways to do it. There's one optimal way, and it really goes against what everybody's been taught and trained. I tell people they've been psychonomically programmed to fail in retirement. The media's done it, their friends have done it, and I just put them back on the straight and narrow on really the optimal way to retire.
And you wouldn't want to expand on that a little bit, would you?
Well, there's just some basic steps. I've written 5 books on it, but my first book was a book by the name of Paychecks and PLAYchecks, and it concludes with 4 very simple steps. Step number 1, you want to cover your basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. So that's not where stocks fit, that's not where bonds fit, that's not where real estate fits, that's where guaranteed lifetime income fits. Step number 2, you optimize the rest of your portfolio to protect yourself against inflation. Now that's where stocks can fit and real estate can fit. Step number 3, you've got to have a plan for long-term care. Long-term care is the one thing that will wipe out so many people that they haven't planned for. You've got to have a plan for long-term care. And step number 4, believe it or not, the most efficient way to pass wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities is with life insurance. I tell people all the time, don't leave your kids any money. You're supposed to spend every last nickel you got. The last check you ought to write ought to go to the undertaker, and that baby ought to bounce, okay? So don't leave your kids any money. Leave them life insurance, because you can do that for pennies on the dollar, and then spend all the rest of your money.
See, now look. I like that right there myself. However, I bet you I accidentally did some of these right. Accidentally. Like right now, they ain't going to get no money. But they would get life insurance policy money. Mm-hmm. Is that smart?
Yeah, so, I got 4 kids, and one day we're sitting around saying, hey, how much should we leave the kids? My wife said, I don't know, what do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids a beneficiary, when we're both gone, they'll get $1 million tax-free. That's $250,000 a piece tax-free. I said, let's start there. So we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, completely paid up. Total cost of that policy was $150,000. So, think about that. For 15 cents on the dollar, we leave our kids $1 million tax-free. Who gets to spend all the rest of the money? We do.
Someday. You're not dead yet.
But the thing is, life insurance is the one thing that will pay 100% of the time. Everybody's going out of here horizontal someday.
Yeah, I like that. So what else do I need to do? I don't do long-term care. How do I protect myself with that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. I say any plan is better than no plan, but long-term care insurance would be a good place to start, and you should do it. I got mine when I was 42. You should buy it in your 40s, 30s if you can. It's cheap. It's very inexpensive. If you wait till you're 60 and 70, it's very expensive. But you got to get home health care, because, see, I always tell people, here's my plan. I never have to go to a nursing home ever. I get to stay in my house till the day I die. The nurse has to come to me, and Brad, you like this? I get to pick the nurse, okay? Mm-hmm. So I call it anti-nursing home insurance. I call it stay-at-home insurance, stay-in-control insurance. But that's one way. The other way is if you say, well, what if I pay all those premiums and then I don't need it and I just waste all that money? You can buy a life insurance policy that has a long-term care rider. Now, this policy does three things. Number one, it's an emergency fund. So, like, if you need money, you can take it out. Number two, if you don't need it and you die, it pays a death benefit. And number three, if you need long-term care, it has a big long-term care benefit. So $1 can do three things in that life insurance policy. And if you can't qualify medically, you can buy one of these annuities that springs up a bunch of income in your 70s and 80s. But you got to have a plan. It's the $1 million problem. Every one of your listeners has a $1 million problem on average for long-term care.
Should something happen?
Well, there's a 72% chance something's going to happen. See, the odds of you needing homeowners insurance are less than 3%, but you got a homeowners policy. The odds of you totaling your car between now and the day you die are less than 18 out of 100, but you got an automobile insurance policy. The odds of you needing long-term care are 72 out of 100. Well, I guess I'll let that one go. No, that's the one you should have. Let the other ones go. Well, now, don't do that. That was just an example.
You said 18% car insurance?
Yep, and 72% for long-term care.
Now, see, here's what's sad in the world. I have home insurance because I was forced to, and I'm smart. I have car insurance because I'm forced to, and I'm smart. I don't have long-term because I wasn't forced to, and I didn't even know about it. So, like, how many people you think are out there that didn't even know about this? Like, this is just, hey, that's pretty smart. I didn't even think of that. I can afford all the insurance I want. Why am I not doing it? Well, it's not because I'm stupid. I've never ever been presented it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've had both my parents. I've had most of my grandparents have needed long-term care, and it's the one thing that's going to wipe people out. They gotta have a plan.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah. Well, the plan I have is health or life insurance. If I die, this company gets paid because there's a little key man in there, and then other people, my family, my loved ones, get paid. That's it. Now, equity in this company I own, what happens to it? Well, I got that going to a trust, et cetera, et cetera. So do you do any estate planning?
I don't do any personal production at all. I mean, I'm aware of estate planning, concepts.
So you're just teaching people how to retire.
Yeah,
securely.
I don't sell any financial products. I don't have a horse in that game. But I show them why, if they don't have an annuity in a portfolio, for example, it will be suboptimal. And yet you see people on TV that say they hate annuities and annuities are a ripoff. Those people are ignorant because all the math and science, all the PhDs who study retirement say you must put an annuity in that portfolio. You got to take off longevity risk. It functions like a AAA rated bond with a CCC rated yield with zero standard deviation. It lowers the risk and increases the returns of every single portfolio. So, I mean, I can take the biggest annuity hater or doubter out there and I can change their mind in about 10 seconds because it's math and science.
You used to be the vice president of New York Life. Is this where you learned all of this?
Well, when I was there, I was put in charge of their retirement income push, and they were really the first company to go deep into this retirement income. And I had to convince an entire field force that have been in investment products that they needed to start using some of these more conservative income products to do it right. And so I had to read a lot of white papers. I met with a lot of PhDs, and I've probably done as much research as almost anybody in the country on this subject. And it's clear. The PhDs who studied it are unanimous. Nobody says, should you have an annuity or not? It's what type of annuity and when. That's the only question that they have. And so all of that study really brought me to a point where now I can go out and I can help financial advisors and I can help clients retire the optimal way. And there's a difference, Brad, between optimal and best. People say, well, is it the best way? I say, I don't know what the best way is. Nobody knows what's going to be the best. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, we should all put our money in Bitcoin. If oil goes to, $10,000 a barrel, we should put our money in oil. Nobody knows what's going to be the best. But what math and science does when there's many different variables, it looks for the optimal. And the optimal means this will be the best more often than anything else will be the best, and it'll never be the worst. So that's what I do.
You're like an actuary.
Well, I talk to a lot of actuaries. I read actuarial stuff, but I'm not an actuary.
Yeah, it sounds kind of actuarial.
Well, it is. I mean, that's who designs life insurance policies and annuities? Actuaries. What do they study to do that? Math and science.
What's the likelihood a human being dies at 60?
It's a very low percent that they die at that age, but it's like a bell curve. If you pick maybe 70, probably 75 or 74, there'll be a bell curve, and some people die when they're 2, and some people die when they're 30, and then most of them die up here, and then some people live to be 85 and 90 and 95 and 100 and 108, and so
average.
Yeah, but
what's
see,
what's the average time we die?
Well, it depends on your age, because the longer you live, the higher your life expectancy. For example, if you're a baby, if you're a brand new baby, a male life expectancy is probably like 78 or something. But if you're a 65-year-old couple, your life expectancy is age 93. 50% of all 65-year-old couples will have somebody live to be 93. 25% of those couples will have somebody live to be 97.
So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you right, if you're 65 and single, you better find a spouse.
Married people live longer than single people. That is a fact.
That is an actuarial fact.
Yeah.
So folks better pay attention. Now, when you were with New York Life, they have what, like millions of policyholders?
Yeah, probably. They have 12,000 agents, so they have, a lot of policyholders.
How come New York Life doesn't go tell everybody this?
Well, I think they do. When I was there, I sure did. I had a whole wholesaling force. I had, I trained every agent, every manager, every wholesaler in the company. But look, there's a lot of big companies out there. State Farm's a big company. You got Prudential, you got Jackson National, and
I have, I think New York Life or maybe Mass Mutual. I don't know, but no one's told me this.
Well,
whose fault is it? Is where I'm going. Who's slacking, not telling me about this long term? I haven't even got to protect inflation or cover your bases.
I mean, that is the job of a financial advisor. But having been a financial advisor, I will let you know it's very tough to get in front of you, because he probably does call you. You're say, I'm good, I'm fine, and that's what happens. And so people are not really taking their retirement as serious as they should. They should meet at least once a year with their financial advisor and just go over the plan. They should have a plan, and it should be updated regularly, because there's always new things that happen. There's new products on the market. There's new risks that if all of a sudden something happens to your family, and there may be a risk you didn't even see before. Like long-term care, you never even thought about that before, but that could wipe you out.
Well, I'm under the belief of it's better to have and not need than need and not have. Like I have a HSA where I basically funded, I forget how much, $10,000 a year maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I don't have a deductible. Like I'm paying the first, I think it's, let's say $6,500. I'm paying it no matter what, every year. And guess what? I've never spent even $6,500 a year, which means they haven't paid anything. However, if something major happens and I've already paid my $6,500, it's 100% covered. I like that security.
Absolutely.
So I don't think I'm going to need long-term care. I think I'm going to die early, or dude, I'm going to be spry till I'm 105. And then I'm going to die in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But if God forbid something happened, I need in-home care, dude, that could wipe a person out.
Yep.
Now, there's insurance that's chump change that I could have added to this, or
you may have it. You check with your advisor in your life insurance policy. You may have a long-term care rider that you didn't even know you had it. So I would check on that, and that might be for you the easiest way, because if you don't need it, then it goes to your family, or you can use it in retirement.
Yeah,
so,
like you said, man, what if I need a little loan ski, and I've been funding that thing for years?
Well, then you get to be the bank. You've heard those commercials. Be the bank. That's what you've got.
Who would I call?
Your financial professional, whoever you're dealing with.
Well, what if it was a while ago and I don't deal with anybody? Now I just know the policy holders from New York Life.
Well, then if I were you, I would reach out to your other successful friends and say, hey, who handles your financial affairs? Who do you trust? And I talk about that in my books of how to find a good financial advisor. You want somebody who has experience. You don't want necessarily somebody who just started yesterday. You want somebody who's got probably some credentials, some letters behind their name that shows they've taken some education, and then that they have good referrals from other successful people. That's one of the best ways you can find a good financial advisor.
Yeah, now most people listening to you or listening to us would go, oh, I get it. This bitch is a financial advisor. He just wants me to buy these policies. Dude, you don't care if someone buys these or not.
I don't care. It won't affect my lifestyle whatsoever. I show people why they need it. I don't sell it. I don't benefit whether they buy it or not.
Why do you do that?
Well, this is what I do for a living. I've written books. People buy my books. They
Why
come
are
to
you
my
passionate?
seminars. They hire me to speak.
But why? Why are you so passionate about
Because there's
getting the word
78
out?
million baby boomers, and a bunch of them are going to run out of money because they're listening to Ken Fisher, or they think they can do it with a stock portfolio, and they can't. You cannot retire the same way that you accumulated. It's like 80% of mountain climbing deaths are on the way back down, not on the way up. And so people, they say, oh, my portfolio's doing good. I got a good stock advisor. Yeah, that's good when you're accumulating money. That will not get you through retirement. You'll be one of the 80% that dies on the way down because a portfolio will not get you through retirement. There's this big risk called sequence of returns risk that we don't even have time to get into, but people can look it up. But it's going to wipe out the retirements of tens of millions of baby boomers. So I'm trying to help as many of them avoid that as possible.
So if God forbid you died right now, or you obviously have all these and then some, what's the shit that like you don't usually talk about, but like what's the secret ones no one will ever hear if they come to your event? What's a Dropping Bombs original?
Look, I pretty much just lay it all out. There's really not a lot of secrets, but the thing is most people don't know this stuff. But it's all in the research of the PhDs who've studied it, but they watch TV, they listen to commercials, and they say, oh, Ken Fisher, he hates annuities, or this. They're getting, Dave Ramsey says you only should buy term insurance. That's ridiculous. Less than 2% of term policies ever pay a death claim. The only policy that matters is the one that's enforced on the day that you die. So, I mean, these are the things I talk about, and this is...
Someone told me, don't ever do whole life. That's why they call it whole, because it's a whole.
No, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You can Google Forbes, and Tom Hegna got an article in there that I was written, and it's a great bond substitute. So if the average person is invested 60% stock, 40% bond, I wrote a white paper. The 60-40 portfolio is dead. Long-lived life insurance and annuities. And all I said is for young people like you should be replacing your bonds in your portfolio with a whole life policy. It's a bond-like return, but you don't have the interest rate risk. Right now, bonds are only paying 1 or 2% to the upside, but if interest rates go up, those same bonds could fall 20, 30, 40, 50%. So why would you want to have that risk? You're going to do better with either whole life insurance or an annuity as a bond substitute. It doesn't have to be a stock substitute, but as a bond substitute. That's why you would buy those products.
I see. Why wouldn't I just buy an apartment building?
Because apartment buildings, real estate fits into what I talk about, but it fits that fits in number 2. Optimize the rest of your portfolio to protect yourself against inflation. It should not be considered guaranteed lifetime income. Look, I was in Phoenix, Arizona for the last 30 years, and for 20 of those years, you could not lose money in real estate. You buy something, you could sell it for more, no matter what. And then the market crashed in Phoenix, and everyone I knew who was a builder went out of business. Most of the realtors went out of business. They went bankrupt. Now you can say, well, you can still rent your place. Yeah, but let me tell you what, there were a lot of people that lost a lot of money in real estate in Arizona. So yeah. I like real estate for protecting against inflation, not for giving guaranteed lifetime income. It is not a substitute for guaranteed lifetime income. And besides this, I've seen so many people, they buy real estate when they're in the 30s and 40s. Oh, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to reach. And then guess what happens? They're 70. And you know what? That building now is 40 years old. It needs a new roof. It needs a new heater. And I said, do you want to deal with that when you're in your 70s? Oh, I'll have a property manager take care of that. You know who property managers take advantage of? The 75-year-old who can't remember what he had for breakfast. Yeah, we had to put a furnace in number 7. We had to put a new roof on number 12. It's like a ball and chain around your neck when you're in your 70s and 80s. So real estate sounds great when you're in your 30s and 40s. Wait till you're in your 80s and you've used up all your tax advantages. Now it's all taxable. Now you're locked in. The places are falling apart. I'm not saying I'm against real estate. I'm not. It fits in the system, but it's not this wonderful thing that everybody says, oh, it's the end all of end alls. It's not.
People are calling you because their shitter's full.
It's 4th of July. They got a pregnant woman in the house, and the air conditioner went out in Phoenix, Arizona. Or it's December. You're in Minnesota. We got a pregnant woman in the house, and the heater went out. And now it's your problem. Well, I got a property manager. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, it's not the everything that everybody thinks it is. It can play a role, but it shouldn't be your only thing.
No, I like it. What I'm hearing is like, dude, I thought I was covered. Shit, I'm exposed. I'm only covered in one area. One area, life insurance. You said cover basic living expenses with guaranteed income. 2, protect against inflation. 3, long-term care. 4, life insurance. 5 was what?
No, those 4 were good.
4.
I mean, then.
Oh, no, the 5 was if you're over 65 and single, get married because you'll live longer.
Yeah, well, people with guaranteed income live longer and they tend to be happier. And
Probably less stress.
Less stress. They got the money coming. They're not worried about it. Plus, most seniors don't overspend. They underspend. They've been psychonomically programmed not to touch those assets. Oh, we got to save it. We got to grow. Can't touch it. And then they get into retirement. Do you think they're going to just blow their 401k? No, they don't dare touch it. Nobody can spend
if you ask me, and I'm no expert, Tom, and trust me, if you saw my investment portfolio, you'd be like, dude, you're an idiot. And I'd be like, I know, but one day. So I'm like probably a lot of Americans or people, not even Americans, but I'll worry about it later. And then later, bam, look at Kobe Bryant. Yeah. He you got so much money, it doesn't matter. Great. But most of us that are working hard and we have to think and we have to budget and we have to plan and we have to strategize, we have to grow. We got, investment capital. We got what he calls savings. I always think to myself, why do people have so much cash in the bank when cash is a tool? Like that's like saying you have a whole garage full of tools and you're out there using a butter knife to build a birdhouse. I'd be like, why don't you use those tools? And you're like, oh no, I'm saving those for a project someday. Like, why aren't you using them for that birdhouse? Oh no, I've been taught to save those tools. I don't need to use those tools.
And that's what happens. They live a just-in-case retirement. They don't touch their money. They don't touch their money. They don't touch money. I say, wait a minute. You told me you were going to join the country club. You're going to buy a new boat. You're going to go on a cruise. You're going to see the world. Have you done that yet? Oh, no, I'm saving just in case. So they don't touch their money. Then they die. Then what happens? The kids join the country club. The kids take the cruise. The kids see the world. I tell people, I want you to join the country club. I want you to see the world. Leave your kids' life insurance. Spend every last nickel you got. Last check you ought to write ought to be the undertaker and that baby out of bounds.
Dude, that's twice I bombed that sentence because I'm doing that. Yeah. And by the way, I swear to you, and if there happens to be some extra cash left over, they can have it.
That's right.
I ain't going to try.
Right.
You were also lieutenant colonel in the Army, yeah?
Yeah.
How was that? You spent a long time in the Army.
Well, I spent 6 years active duty, 16 and a half years reserve. I was in the 3rd Infantry Division over in Germany. I was in the 7th Infantry Division light out of Fort Ord, California. I was stationed at Fort Huachuca twice. I've been to Japan twice, Korea twice, Hawaii a whole bunch of times because when I was in the reserves, we did counterterrorism operations in Southeast Asia. And so I either worked for Japan or Korea, and so we'd meet in Hawaii all the time, like 2-3 times a year for many years. And so that was really tough duty. I had to go to Hawaii a lot.
Did you hear a while back, it wasn't too long ago, where Hawaii had an emergency incoming nuke?
They thought they did. Yeah, they put out a message that there was.
Can you imagine that?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're sitting there having dinner and all of a sudden you hear the whistle that means there is an incoming nuclear missile.
Enjoy your dinner. Have another glass of wine because there's not much you're going to be able to do about it.
Wow. Well, and then your retirement wouldn't really matter at that point because guess what? The whole shebang's up in smoke.
Yeah,
your
but
kids,
people say that all the time. Oh, the world's going to fall apart. I won't. And then guess what happens? Then they don't save for retirement, and then they have a crappy retirement. I want to have everybody to have a happy and successful retirement. There is a way to do it. It's based in math and science. It is not complicated. I don't sell any financial products. I just show people how to be happy and successful in retirement. That's all I do. Every day.
Where is it that you train, like I call them civilians, meaning because mainly you can help financial advisors learn this stuff to better serve their clients, or you can just help the clients directly. Like you don't need a financial advisor to learn this. They can come to you. It's a happy retirement?
Retire happy you.
Retire happy you.
Yeah. I've got online training and coaching, as you're well aware of, and I have
good.
a very powerful system that does
That's
that.
right.
And so I offer that to both advisors and to clients as well. And I do about, I used to do about 80% of my talks to the financial advisors. Now about 80% of my talks are to clients and prospects. I get hired by advisors and companies to go out and do a seminar to show clients how to retire, because I don't sell any products, so they can say, leave your checkbook at home, lock it up in a vault, nothing here to buy. Tom will show you how to retire, and those have been very, very popular.
Yeah, because you're basically selling it without selling it.
I don't have to sell it. I don't make any commissions. I don't make any sales. I don't make any profits at all on the sale of financial products. I get hired by companies to train their advisors, and I get hired by advisors to train their clients and prospects. That's how I make my money, speaking and writing and online training and coaching.
Yeah, so folks, pay attention. If you want to find him at Tom Hegna, Hegna on Instagram, Tom Hegna Speaks on Facebook. Just Google him, Tom Hegna Financial. I'm sure he'll pop up because you're everywhere, been everywhere. But if you're a financial advisor and you're not making money, dude, pull your head out of your ass and freaking call Tom. Because if you could learn what you're talking about, if I'm a financial advisor, I could learn how to say what you're saying and how you're saying it. Dude, who wouldn't buy this stuff? Because right now I'm thinking, man, I got to call my folks. I got to make sure I got long-term care. And when you're doing these seminars for people, they're sitting there listening to you. I'll bet you anything the financial advisors want you to do it because they can sell these things.
Well, that's right. I mean, they sell to the client.
Yes.
I don't sell
so
to
you
the
go
client.
in there and basically do their job.
Well, I show the people why they need these products based in math and science, and I have no other, I don't get paid at all on whether they do it or not. I just show them why they should. And,
But if I were a financial advisor, I don't need you to come tell my people if you can teach me to tell them myself.
Right.
Now, I don't need to be waiting for Tom Hegna because I bet you're busy. You're always on the road. You're
Every
booked
day.
solid. So guess what? The average financial advisor doesn't have the ability to have Tom Hegna come pitch for them. And it's like you're not even pitching. You're telling them why they need it, which is smart. But the financial advisor that doesn't have the ability or can afford Tom Hegna to come do that for you, you do have an opportunity to learn from Tom with his virtual training system, to do it for yourself. Would you prefer someone just calls you in, or are you tired of being on the road all the time?
Oh, I'm going to be reducing my speaking days. I already am. And what I want to do is I can transplant my brain into that financial advisor's brain if they watch the training and coaching. I mean, it doesn't take that long. A few months with me and I can take them to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and only because I know what system you're on. Plus, folks, if you run an office or have multiple financial advisors, you can train them all consistently, track, measure, monitor their retention. And then as you have turnover, you get a brand new financial advisor, green, man, you plug them in, Tom pops up, walks them through this. And all of a sudden your green new financial advisor has the ability to convince people why they should buy your products and services, which most people don't, which is why I go back to how come New York Life isn't smart enough to I would pay for your, not retirement you, because that's the policy holder. I would be paying for every New York Life agent that is registered with me, New York Life. I would pay or cooperate with you, collaborate. What do you call it when they like sponsor it? Like, dude, it's $200, but you pay $100, I'll pay $100. What's that?
Co-op or co.
I'd co-op
yeah,
with all
co-op.
my agents, because if all my agents could do what you do, they would sell way more policies. If I were New York Life, Mass Mutual, Northwestern, I mean, the list goes on and on with the crack of dawn, I would be thinking to myself, let me reach out to frickin' Tom, make a deal on this training for the advisors, and I would co-op the training for every office, and I would almost mandate it. Like, if you want to be a New York Life agent, you will do this. Why? Well, because if you want to be a New York Life, but see, most of these companies, they're so worried about, maybe they'll sell someone else's policy. Dude, quit being limited, bro. Be the best policy on earth. And
yeah, I mean, compliance is a huge issue in the financial services industry. It just is. But my stuff is solid. I stand behind every single word that I say because it's all backed in math and science.
So State Farm, New York Life, Allstate, call Tom as a company to train your agents or your field. Then the agents, they have, brokers. I don't even know what they're called, agents. So if you're an agent that has agents, call Tom. And then if you're an agent where you don't work for a very good agent that called Tom, you call Tom. And then, folks, for all of you that aren't even in the industry, you don't need none of your agents. You can call Tom and fire out how to retire happy. And then when you do, and you call your agent and say, hey, I need this, this, and this, they're going to wonder, like, who the hell you been talking to? I can do that for you. Shit, I didn't even know you did that. Well, if that's the case, tell them that you went to Retire Happy University with Tom Hegna and tell them they should call. Well, dude, I don't want to keep you here all day because I made you wait for. Dude, that was a whole mess up. Like, you were supposed to be here at something. I said he can't come in early. Then I went in that meeting. Then I saw you come in early. I thought you were just early, but I already scheduled the meeting, so I thought you were early. So that's why I said, well, let me wrap that up. But I know you're busy. I I got a few more questions on the lieutenant colonel in the Army though, because like full-time Army, were you running around? Like when was this?
I was commissioned in May of 1983 as a second lieutenant. And, my first job, I was an S2. I was an intelligence officer of an M1 tank battalion. And then I was an electronic warfare officer for an infantry brigade. And then I was a company commander in the 7th Infantry Division Light. I had a platoon of ground surveillance radar, a platoon of counterintelligence agents, and a platoon of interrogators. And then when I was in the Army Reserve, then it was more strategic intelligence in Southeast Asia.
Now, if we were to, and you got to be savvy still with all that because you were reserves for quite some time, not too long ago. So if the world just took a shit and there was some serious issues, like, what do you think of, like, is there any truth that there's aliens?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't see that as the biggest threat. I think some of the biggest threats are right here, in the world. Some of the bigger countries, I think China, Russia, and then the terrorism in the Middle East. I think those are all huge threats. Do
you think we should, not to get political, but do you think we should build the Army or dismantle the Army? And when I say Army, I mean armed forces.
Oh, we got the best armed forces in the world, no doubt.
Should we invest and stay that way? Or
absolutely. No? That's the thing that protects our freedom. That protects everything else. And all the people who say, oh, we don't need a strong military, wait till we do need it, then it's too late. So you've got to keep a strong military. I believe that.
Yeah, my whole thing is like, dude, just give me a bunch of drone fighters.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you're going to see us sending a bunch of soldiers into battle much anymore. I think it's going to be a lot of drones and...
Yeah, because when I hear, we sent all these troops to Afghanistan, it's like, dude, why would you send my boy or my girl 10 million miles to get shot at? Like, dude, why don't you send a drone, let my boy or my girl fly it from their house?
Yeah. I mean, I have a boy now who's going to be commissioned in the military, so I'm concerned about that as well.
Not only that, but why not... do these other countries have drone abilities? Because sometimes I see a drone flying, and I think to myself, dude, if they've got drone like we've got drones, shit, dude, what's gonna happen?
I mean, it's a real threat. I mean, even with our leaders walking around, and some drone could take them out. I mean, I'm concerned about it. I mean, the technology is
getting ridiculous.
It's getting ridiculous, but then there's counter technology. There's anti-drones up there going to get the other drones. So, yeah.
Well, the reason I'm always interested in that military crap is because we got Area 51 out here that supposedly doesn't exist, and they will not let you out there. Of course, that could be a million reasons why. But I was talking to someone that works there, of course, sworn to secrecy. Won't admit that he works there, but he works there. He said, like, if anything went down, first thing they do is shut down transportation. Because I said, well, I'd just grab a car and head to Oregon. He said, you wouldn't be heading anywhere. I said, what do you mean? He goes, dude, something goes down. First thing to do is lock everybody down. Don't anybody move. Then they take over communication, which means now your cell phones are dead. And the only people communicating are the freaking military. Mm-hmm. And dude, that's why cops are so powerful. There's never more cops than there are people, but they got the radios. That's why you always get caught by the cops because, dude, they got radios. Human beings don't run around with radios and communicate that way. We're not trained to communicate that way. So whenever I talk to someone in the military or had been, I always like to ask these questions so I'm prepared. So if anything happened, do they shut down highways and byways?
Not once in my entire time in the military were we taught anything about shutting down cities or anything. There's people probably that plan that, but I mean, I was always focused on the bad guys, and it was not anything I ever did was around United States shutting down anything. That was never anything that I worked on.
You're saying that so you don't get murdered.
No, I'm saying that because that's true. I mean, I was more worried about, I had to know who was the captain in the Russian army on the other side of that border when I was in Germany, and we'd have to go up against the border. That was back when there was still East Germany, and we had to learn everything about the enemy, and there's nothing to do with, I had nothing to do with civil defense ever.
Who's our scariest enemy?
I mean, some people say North Korea. I just think this terrorism, the Mideast has been screwed up for 6,000 years. Why do we think we can go over there and unscrew it up? We can't.
Well, we
The
don't.
Russians
We're over there for oil.
Well, but do we really need to be over there for oil? We're the number one oil producer in the world now. Now we're exporting oil. We don't need any of the Mideast oil anymore.
We use it all up. Yeah. It's crazy, man. I wish I knew the facts. Of course, it wouldn't matter. It's just interesting, that stuff. So one more back to the retiring happy. What would you consider me? Am I a Gen Xer? I'm 51 just the 27th. So 51.
Then you're just behind the baby boomers.
I'm a Gen Xer.
Probably. You're an old Gen Xer.
Yeah. I'm like right at the tip. I was almost a boomer, but I'm an Xer.
Yep.
And then below me is Then
there's Y, and then there's Z. And I got kids in all three of them.
So what's the millennial?
Well, that's kind of all of them blended. They call it the millennials.
Oh, I got you. So I'm not a millennial.
Well, you're kind of a millennial.
I'm on the edge.
You're on the edge of millennials.
All right. So how long if I'm 30? Let's say 25. Because right now, dude, I run into a lot of youngsters, and they're starting to listen to me because I got a little gray in my beard. I've accumulated a little success, and they never would have listened before, but now they're starting to listen. I got a little influence. And I want to give them some good tip. You're 25 years old. Man, ain't nothing going to happen to you, bro. It doesn't happen to me. Because I was that way, dude. I didn't do crap. I just started like a couple years ago. But what would you tell a 25-year-old female, male, single, married, doesn't matter, family, no family? How long does it take for you to save and prepare and plan so you're not sitting there screwed? Because I think we're going to live longer. I think it's going to be average age 150 here pretty quick, even 200. I'm not even joking.
Well, they say the first person born to live to 140 is alive today.
Okay, so that's my point. So, dude, you don't want to live to 200 if you don't have your shit in order.
Right.
So at the end of the day, even though retire happy, people think, well, I die, that's insurance. No. You're not die happy. You're retire happy, which means, okay, I'm done working. Now I just want to live on the bountiful fruits of my intelligent investments or maneuvers.
Yep.
How long do you think someone needs to prepare to retire happy?
Well, I hear a lot of these young people and they say YOLO, you only live once. And I say, no, it's not YOLO, it's yo-yo. You're on your own, baby. And the only one that's going to take care of the older self is the younger self. And so you always got to pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. You're paying all these bills. You pay your car insurance, pay this, pay that. And then you stand at the end line, there's no more money you got to pay yourself first, and then you pay your bills. And look, they used to say if you save 10% of your money, you'll be okay. That won't work anymore. All right. You need to save 15 to 20% of your income from the time you're 20. And if you do that, you will have enough money to retire and be happy and successful. And people say, oh, I can't do that. Well, yes, you can. You just are making choices right now that say, oh, you want to drive that new car. You want to have that new place. You want to do that. You gotta tone some of that down. You gotta put your priorities in place. And priority number one, you gotta be paying yourself. You gotta pay yourself first. You gotta give to charity and live on what's left.
I'm gonna give that a bomb. You ever read Richest Man in Babylon?
Yeah, of course I have.
Great. Everyone always says recommended book. That one.
And it's a little book.
Little baby book.
You can read that in about an hour.
Little baby book. And dude, it is basically pay yourself first. Doesn't matter. I always have people, because I tell people that because I learned it in that book. And people say, well, what if my rent's due and I don't have the rent? How do I pay myself first? You pay yourself first, and then you get cheaper rent, or you get a roommate. But what you're saying is, dude, it doesn't matter. If you want to make sure that you retire happy, you're wealthy, you got to do the right things. Yeah. And paying yourself first is a fundamental fact that would take a person that's literally making $36,000 a year for 20 years, guarantee them a retirement where they're not living on welfare.
Yeah, and then when you and I were young, we thought, if we had $1 million, we'd be rich. $1 million today isn't what $1 million used to be. And so this person who's 25 today, they better be planning on saving $5 or $7 or $8 million if they want to retire. And to save $5 to $7 million, that takes serious planning. It just doesn't happen. You're not going to do it putting $25 a week into your into the bucket on the refrigerator. You got to do some serious planning to have that much money. And I'm just afraid too many people are just not taking it serious, and they're going to pay the price in retirement. Well,
you already know they will. What's the actuary say? I'm sure there's some dismal statistic on how many people fail.
50% of all 60-year-olds have like zero money saved. So, I mean,
they're screwed. They just don't know it yet.
Well, in the TV,
or their kids are screwed.
On PBS, I had a deal where this woman, she was 59, she was newly divorced, she had almost nothing, and she got serious about it, and she was able to retire at 71 with more income than she ever had her whole life. So she couldn't retire at 62, she couldn't retire at 64, but she got her act together, and between 59 and 71, she was able to do it. And I talk about that in Don't Worry, Retire Happy, both the book and the TV show.
So real quick, if you guys love what he's saying and you're more interested in going deep, how many books you got out and where do they find them?
I got 5 books, 3 in America, 2 in Canada. I have one that's going to be coming out here shortly, but TomHegna.com, Amazon.com. I'm very easy to find. There aren't a lot of Tom Hegnas. There's about 3 or 4 in the whole country, so I'm pretty easy to find.
And what's funny is, man, you ain't trying to sell them any insurance. You're just telling them, hey, guys, pay attention, and here's how you do it. This is coming from people, from a person that has, insurance, New York Life, I say one of the biggest top brands in the world, vice president of that, lot of information coming out. You've done over 5,000 seminars on
all
this?
50 states. I've spoken all over the world. Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore. I just got back from Australia this fall. So, I mean, I've spoken all over the world, spoken in Europe. But I don't have an agenda. I'm not selling any product. I mean, they can buy my book. I guess if I'm selling a book, that's my agenda. I don't know. But I mean, I just want people to retire happy and successful. I spend years and years researching it. I put all the references in there. I always tell people, do your due diligence on everybody. Do it on me if you want to. But this is the math and science of how to do it the right way.
Boom. Well, folks, you've heard it. Tom, appreciate you stopping by. I know you didn't have a lot of time, but I always seem to influence the right people to come in here to the studio and help the Bomb Squad gain some new knowledge. Folks, share this out with your folks, too, also. It may not be you that's subject to normal laws, like you might be Superman. Nothing's going to happen to you, but share it out. Maybe your aunt, uncle, brother, sister can use it. And until next time, as always, keep it real.